Welcome to the Let's Talk About the Deep Stuff podcast. I'm your host, Sean Kneese. On this show, I have off-the-cuff and candid conversations about the big topics in the world. Well, off-the-cuff and candid conversations, or monologues like I'm doing now, where it's just me talking, but sometimes your conversations with yourself are very important conversations. Today, I want to delve into a topic that's close to the heart of many of us, and that is the journey of becoming who we truly are. In a world filled with expectations, pressures, and societal norms, it's easy to lose sight of our authentic selves. We often find ourselves conforming to the expectations of others, trying to fit into molds that were never meant for us. But true fulfillment comes from embracing our uniqueness, from stepping into our own light and owning our individuality. It's about discovering our passions, our values, and our purpose, and living in alignment with them. The path to self-actualization is not always easy. It requires courage, introspection, and a willingness to challenge the status quo. It means facing our fears, confronting our insecurities, and embracing our vulnerabilities. But the rewards are immeasurable. When we dare to be authentic, we experience a sense of freedom and inner peace that can't be found anywhere else. We attract the right people into our lives, we pursue meaningful endeavors, and we live with a sense of purpose and fulfillment. So how do we embark on this journey of self-discovery? Well, it starts with self-awareness. We must take the time to reflect on who we are, what we believe in, and what brings us joy. We must listen to our inner voice and trust our intuition. We must be gentle with ourselves as we navigate the ups and downs of life. We must embrace our flaws and imperfections, knowing that they are what make us beautifully human. And remember that, all of you. I know when you're doubting yourselves, when you're feeling down on yourselves, if you're just thinking I'm a piece of shit and you're listening to this, remember the beautiful motherfucker that you are, and I love you. You know, I'd give you a hug right now. Well, actually, no, that'd be kind of creepy, but I'm a loving guy, and like I want you to love yourself too. And you know, you're beautiful motherfuckers. Remember that. Whoever's listening. Anyway, as I was saying, the path to self-actualization most importantly requires authenticity. We must have the courage to show up as our true selves, unapologetically, without reservation. Well, within reason. Because I feel like I don't want some people to listen to this and just be like, oh, I'm going to just be a dick. Like, no, be considerate of others, be kind to others, but always be true to yourself. And, you know, be considerate, have empathy. Just like, we don't need more fucking arrogant, sociopathic pieces of shit in the world. There's enough of those. We need more confident, strong-minded, kind individuals. It's not nice guys finish last. It's not nice girls finish last. It's not nice theys that finish last. No. You know what it is? It's passive people who finish last because they don't want to take a stand and say what they believe in, and they don't have the confidence.
We gotta have the confidence. That's kind people with good hearts. We gotta be strong. We're kind, but we won't be pushed around anymore.
So we must let go of the need for approval and validation from others, and instead embrace our own worthiness. And I think we could do that while still being kind and considerate of others, but also not walking on eggshells like, oh, did I say the right thing? Oh, I don't know. It's like, if you really feel something in your heart, and like, this is true, like, I don't think it's good to be controversial just for the sake of being controversial, but if you have an opinion that's not popular, and you believe strongly something that's not popular, say it, like, with 100% conviction. And maybe you'll get some backlash, but that discomfort of speaking your mind and being who you are, despite the discomfort of it, it's much more liberating than just staying inside, is like hiding who you are and just being like,
Oh, I'll just agree with them. I'll try to avoid conflict. I don't want to say what I really think. I don't want to say what I really feel. Oh, I don't want to set this boundary. I just want to have no conflict.
And you know, when I'm talking about all this stuff, I'm talking to myself because this is all stuff I'm working on too. This isn't like me being a preacher and being like, hey, be like me, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to help you and I'm trying to help myself at the same time.
So what makes us who we are? Are we just born who we are with our personality, or do we become who we are through our experiences, and I think also through our mistakes and our trials and errors, trying things and then failing and then learning how to succeed through our failures also helps us develop who we are. But I think that you don't really develop into your full potential and the highest version of yourself if you never put yourself out of your comfort zone and you never take risks. And because look at characters like in movies or books or whatever, like, and how the character development happens. It's usually because some kind of conflict happens, right? It's usually because something takes them out of their usual pattern, and usually their flaws and failures throughout the story kind of helps them develop into who they are too. It's they don't have any of that, then it's just boring. If there's no development, if there's no flaws, that's why people talk about a Mary Sue or a Gary Stu, I think is the male version, is just a character that has no flaws and no development. That's what I kind of thought was boring about Rey in the new Star Wars. Not that I mind, like, I actually kind of like seeing strong female protagonists, but I like them to be relatable, be flawed, like, and be human and relatable too. I don't like male characters that are just flawless, and kind of like why I like Scarlet Witch better than I like Captain Marvel, because she's more complex and like she's not like Captain Marvel who's just like flawless. And I don't like characters that just kind of like that's why I find Superman boring and I find Batman more interesting, or I find Daredevil more interesting, because they're more complex and Superman's just Superman. But I don't want to get too off topic, like I said. But anyway, with getting yourself out of your comfort zone, I feel like, and I've mentioned this in other episodes, that's something that took me a while to do because of like severe anxiety when I was younger, just afraid to do this, afraid to do that. Like, I feel like that's part of why I was kind of a late bloomer. And I feel like my 30s, I've had more of the experiences I should have had in my 20s. But better late than never. But I also feel like since I'm more mature now, I was able to appreciate some of those experiences more than I would have in my 20s. But I'm glad that I've continuously pushed myself out of my comfort zone, and it's and just going to places like where I was a stranger, like events or whatever, or like different things, and meeting new people. Like, it's just brought me so many interesting experiences and connections I wouldn't have otherwise had if I had just stayed in my own bubble or whatever. And I feel like because I was shy and introverted when I was younger and I was afraid to go out of my comfort zone, that kind of pushed me to put myself out of my comfort zone more. One person I wanted to talk about is Friedrich Nietzsche, who's a philosopher that I'm sure most of you are familiar with. Whenever I bring him up, people just bring up his quote, "God is dead." But really, he said so much more than that. I know a lot of people also look at him as a proto-fascist because, the Third Reich looked at Nietzsche's teachings and everything, but that wasn't him. He was actually very anti-nationalist in a lot of his ideas. And actually a lot of his friends and everything were Jewish. He wasn't... So, like, it was his sister took his work and twisted it. So I don't really blame Nietzsche for that. But anyway, I do appreciate, like, a lot of Nietzsche's ideas within Thus Spoke Zarathustra, that talks about the overman or the superman, because I view that as like reaching the highest version of yourself. I don't view it in the racist way the Nazis took it, because that's not even how Nietzsche meant it. Actually, I love bringing up facts that people don't know. Actually, Emma Goldman, who was an anarchist, was inspired by Nietzsche's writings, and I could read a quote that she said about it. She said in an essay of hers called Anarchism, what it really stands for, and it's featured in this book, Anarchism and Other Essays. I recommend looking into her, because even if you don't agree with her ideas or whatever, I think she's interesting to look into. She said, "The most disheartening tendency common among readers is to tear out one sentence from a work as a criterion of the writer's ideas or personality. Friedrich Nietzsche, for instance, is described as a hater of the weak because he believed in the Übermensch. It does not occur to the shallow interpreters of that giant mind that this vision of the Übermensch also called for a state of society which will not give birth to a race of weaklings and slaves. So basically, she interpreted that, if we lived in an anarchist society, we're all just free to be who we are and everything. I'm not going to go into anarchism and everything. I'm no way an expert on that. I'm not any kind of isist or ismist or whatever. But I do understand. I do like looking into different philosophies and what the root of them are, and different thinkers within different schools of thought, because I like to actually know like what anarchism is, not just take it out of context like some people say, or just think it means chaos or whatever, because it doesn't mean chaos. Actually, anarchism is all about organization and cooperation, but her interpretation kind of coincides with mine of Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, and that's that kind of just made me think of like if there's one conservative value I kind of appreciate, it's the idea of hard work and how like you're good is not like, because I know there's a lot of the stuff going around like you're good as you are, but I think you're good as you are, but you can also, it's inspiring to know that you're good as you are, but you can also be better than this. I think I've said that before on this podcast, and I think it's good to have ambition and goals and be like, okay, I'm gonna make my dreams come true. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. But then at the same time, I also think that not everybody has the same opportunity. I think society should be fair in some ways, in a sense that I think more people should have the same opportunities. And I know that there's a lot of straw manning of like the left, or that people say that the left just wants equal outcome. I've heard Jordan Peterson says that, but like I've never actually heard anybody argue saying that we want equal outcome. I think the thing is that right now there really isn't equal opportunity, I don't think, for everybody, because I think that if you're born to a wealthy family, you're going to go to the better schools, you're going to get the better opportunities, you're going to know the better people, and it's like so I believe in equal opportunity, but that doesn't mean like equal outcome, we're all gonna and I think that more people would self-actualize if their basic needs were met, because that kind of goes along with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that if your more basic needs aren't met, then you're not going to get to the point of self-actualization and everything else. So I would and of course then there's always going to be lazy people or whatever, but I don't think even lazy people should starve to death or be homeless. So I'm just for like basic needs met, and I support like a mix of socialism and capitalism like together. I'm not like no government. I'm not like all government. I'm not. So I'm pretty in the middle on that, and I also appreciate the triumphs of the human spirit, and I believe that, and I have known people who've overcome like almost impossible circumstances and have lived the life they want, have achieved their dreams, and I know people who had every opportunity handed them and who didn't do shit with their lives, and I do like, so that's why it's like I'm not totally like I mean I don't like to put a label on myself, but I'm saying, I guess like her statement about how more people would be the Übermensch in her anarchist society, that just made me think like, because I'm not really like an anarchist or any kind of this, I'm not like a radical type or whatever, but I do think that if everybody had their basic needs met, then more people would self-actualize, and more people would pursue their dreams more, maybe be their greatest version more. But I also know that like people sometimes become more hardworking through their struggles and through their hardships and everything, and I think that can build character. So like I appreciate that conservative idea of like you can make it, you can, but at the same time it's also like I don't think somebody should go broke and lose their home because they don't have health insurance or because of health bills or whatever, you know? Or I don't think that somebody who came from like a rich area and just screwed around or whatever should be able to go to the Ivy League school just because his dad went there, and somebody from an inner city who's very smart, good student should not be able to go to a Ivy League school because they don't have the money to do so. You know, I think that, but I know there's scholarships for that kind of thing and everything. But it's just like certain things like that. I'm a little bit more like I agree with some socialist things on things like that, but I also agree with the idea of like you make yourself like, you know, self-creation, hard work. So, and I don't think that those values necessarily need to be at odds with each other. I think we can self-actualize and be our greatest version and look out for others and care about others. So it's a balance. Like I think there's nothing wrong with being selfish to a degree, because I think you need to sort your own self out. You need to get yourself together before you can worry about other people. But at the same time, we're not an island, so we got to care about each other. I almost feel like I'm getting into a whole other subject than what I want to be talking about, but I also am thinking like this, you know, this idea you're perfect as you are. It's like, okay, but that doesn't mean you need to stay the same. That doesn't mean you should try to not improve. It's like, you know, like, and you know, we talk about how we're harder on ourselves than we are on other people, and to treat yourself as a friend. But it's like, let's say I had a friend that was overweight, and they maybe they're not super motivated or whatever. Like, you love that friend as they are. You're not going to put them down. You want to be encouraging of them. But if that friend starts working out, getting in shape, getting more focused with their life, starts doing more, then you're going to be like, wow, you've really improved. Like, and then you'd be happy for your friend because your friend is wanting better for themselves. So it's like, I don't think it's negative to say that, yes, you're good as you are, but you can strive to be better. That's one thing that I think, because that's what self-actualization is, pretty much. So, but anyway, getting back to Nietzsche, and I think he's a good example of do as I say, not as I do, because I would not want to end up like Friedrich Nietzsche did. You know, he just died of syphilis. He didn't actually have the best life, but he had great ideas, great mind, but, you know, I wouldn't exactly want to have his life. So, thus spoke Zarathustra, and the story of Zarathustra, who, you know, he took that name, of course, from Zoroastrianism. Zarathustra was from the, you know, the first monotheistic religion. I actually would need to look more into Zoroastrianism. I have studied most religions, but Zoroastrianism is one I'd need to look into more. I do love the one concept in Zoroastrianism. It's good thoughts, good words, good deeds. But I haven't read like the official book of it or anything. Sikhism is another one I wanted to look into more too. But he spends time in seclusion. Zarathustra, which is, I guess, pretty much Nietzsche's alter ego in this story of Zarathustra he has in the book Thus Spoke Zarathustra. And he you know, he goes in seclusion in the mountains, and then he comes back to civilization and teaches people the ways of the Übermensch. And I thought of that part specifically because that got me to think, like, you know, how sometimes some time to yourself and enjoying your own company and introspection helps you on your path to self-actualization, but then of course you need to also go out and be a part of the world and everything too. And he was trying to help people reach their higher state, the Übermensch, the Overman. So Nietzsche talked about the concept of the Übermensch, which is an idealized individual who transcends conventional morality and societal norms. And so, in other words, an exceptional human being. But to me, like an Ubermensch wouldn't be someone who bullies or rules over other people. It'd be someone who they've lifted themselves up and wants to help lift others up too, who wants to do good for the world around them. That's why I think I was talking about you can have the two things at the same time. Like Mitch Horowitz, actually, he's an occultist that talks about this too. Like he talks about manifestation and hermeticism, which is kind of the root of a lot of this law of attraction stuff. The law of attraction is kind of like a watered down, commercialized version of the concepts of hermeticism, which is comes from the tablet of Hermes Trismegistus. I know I'm talking about this off the cuff, and that's the idea that your thoughts can kind of shape the world around you and can kind of manifest the life you want to live for yourself. But Mitch Horowitz, he says, like, yes, manifest for yourself, but also manifest for the world around you and help the world around you. Like, if we use that success and that drive to also better the lives of people around us and not only ourselves, and we don't use it in a selfish way, which unfortunately a lot of people do who are go-getters and everything, then that's kind of why I think society is the way it is in a lot of ways. Because I think there's that quote that says, like, the best lack all conviction and the worst are full of passion and intensity. I forget exactly what that's from, but it's kind of relates to what I said earlier, and I was saying this kind of in jest. I was joking a bit with it, but it's true. Kind people with good hearts need to learn to be assertive, need to learn to go after what they want, need to, that's why I think I don't buy this whole nice guys finish last. No, you don't need to be a shitty person, but you have to, at the same time, have some backbone, have some assertiveness, and have some drive. And I think the more that kind people with good hearts do that, the better the world will be. Because there'll be more good people with good intentions putting their will out into the world rather than selfish, self-serving people. But anyway, getting back to Nietzsche, the Ubermensch creates their own values and lives authentically, embracing life's challenges and affirming the inherent meaninglessness of existence. Okay, so basically I think the concept of the Ubermensch is like there's no objective right or wrong. Like that you find your own truth and your own concept of right and wrong, and you live 100% authentic to that. Now, to me, I believe there's no right or wrong unless your will is infringing on others. So it's like do as you will as long as you don't harm others. Otherwise, I agree there's no objective right or wrong. And he emphasizes the importance of self-mastery, creativity, pursuit of one's unique potential, and becoming an Ubermensch. So like I said, he didn't really live this philosophy. He kind of just lived a solitary life. He never got out of the cave like Zarathustra, and he died of syphilis instead of going out there and being the Ubermensch. But I still think these ideas are very good. And also his talk about the path of the creator really resonated with me as as an artist and a creative type. It's he talks about how the path of the creator can be a lonely path, but it's also a fulfilling path, because sometimes to really go after what you want and to go your own way and to speak your truth can be isolating at times, but then it ends up being more fulfilling. And that's also true for an artist. The life of an artist can be lonely. He also talks about, and thus spoke Zarathustra, the three metamorphoses of the spirit: the camel, the lion, and the child. The camel represents obedience and burden bearing, where individuals conform to societal expectations and carry the weight of tradition. And then the lion, which is the next state, symbolizes rebellion, an assertion of individual will, rejecting external constraints and asserting autonomy. And then the child, the highest state, which I think is interesting because that kind of, like, people just, I know a lot of people who are spiritual and stuff that just dismiss Nietzsche as just being like a angry atheist, like I don't want to listen to his stuff, but I think there's kind of a spiritual concept in this too. And I don't think when he said God is dead, he was like saying like, I hate God. I think he was saying how the concept of God died, because that's when religion wasn't quite as dominant as it was at one time. At least that's the way he saw things. And he thought that, that void needed to be filled. We needed to find meaning. again. So I think that's what this Ubermensch is the new path of finding meaning that's like in between the extremes of pure nihilism and religion. And in Buddhism, and it kind of talks about when you achieve enlightenment, it's almost like looking at the world like a child again. So I think like when you reach that higher state, it's like, and you're more wise and you're more aware, it's like you kind of revert to being a child because you look at everything with wonder again. And it's like, I also think once you think you have everything figured out, you kind of stop growing too. And that's one thing that with me, I think has been both a gift and a curse, but it's definitely, because like they say a lot of people just don't change and they are who they are throughout their whole life and they don't improve, and like especially they say once you hit 30 people don't change. But with me, I get in my head a lot and I but probably do I do it less now, but in the past I have done too much reflecting and studying past behavior and kind of beating myself up about stuff I did. But there was also a good side to that I developed a sense of self-awareness, like, damn, like I did this wrong, I could have done this differently in retrospect. Going forward, I'm going to do this, and that's why I think I've been improving. Like I feel like every day I'm a better version of myself, and I'm going to continue to improve. I don't think there's I like to look at the world like I'm always the student of life. That there's never a graduating it and you know everything. I think once you think you know everything, then you stop growing and then you know less, because then you close yourself off, and once you think you know everything, then you become ignorant because you're not going to take in new ideas, new perspectives. And Tony Robbins talks about that, but CANI, constant and never-ending improvement. I always like that idea of his too. He also talks about the one. There also is a part of Thus spoke Zarathustra, where he mentions they hate the ones who fly, and the ones who fly are like the ones who self-actualize. Is the way I'd see it. I'd say the whole book is really about self-actualization. I don't know how. I think it's because Nietzsche's sister took his words and like twisted into some kind of race thing. But to me, this wasn't at all like some kind of fascist Nazi thing. I think it was just twisted and used for propaganda. But this book is about self-actualization, and I think if you apply its teachings in the right way, it can be very beneficial. Again, like I said, Nietzsche is do as I say, not as I do, because I don't think he was actually a role model of how you want to end up or anything like that. But he also mentioned that the Ubermensch will inevitably be misunderstood and even hated by those who fear change and challenge to the status quo. So it's also talking about self-actualization. That's people who challenge the status quo or change the world for the better, or they'll take a stand against injustices or maybe things that are popular at the time. Like maybe, the abolitionists who saw that slavery was wrong when it was kind of a common practice. And they at their time, like they're called crazy or they're called, like they're not understood, but they are the ones who create change. They're the ones who make the world improve. So... And then, of course, he had a quote about becoming who you are. He has the quote, "What does your conscience say? You should become who you are." And to me, I think that quote is all about, following your intuition. I think that we have these desires and we have these... we have... What's in our heart is in our heart for a reason. And I think if we follow our heart and our intuition, I think that we're on the right path. And that's there's another quote actually that fits with that Carlos Castellanos in his book The Teachings of Don Juan, there's a quote from this shaman Don Juan that he talked with, and it's debatable whether Don Juan actually exists or whether Carlos Castellanos really made him up or whatever, but still I found this quote useful. It said, "Anything is of one of a million paths. Therefore you must always keep in mind that a path is not only a path if you feel you should not follow it. You must not stay with it under any condition. To have such clarity, you must lead a disciplined life. Only then will you know that any path is only a path and there's no affront to oneself or to others, in dropping it if that's what your heart tells you to do. But your decision to keep on the path or to leave it must be free of fear of ambition. I warn you, look at every path closely and deliberately. Try it as many times as you think necessary. This question is one that only a very old man asks. Does this path have a heart? All paths are the same, they lead nowhere. There are paths going through the bush or into the bush. In my own life, I could say I have traversed lawn paths, but I am not anywhere. Does this path have a heart? If it does, the path is good. If it doesn't, it's of no use. Both paths lead nowhere, but one has a heart, the other doesn't. One makes for a joyful journey. As long as you follow it, you are one with it. The other will make you curse your life. One makes you strong, the other weakens you. Before you embark on any path, ask the question, does this path have a heart? And if the answer is no, you will know it, and then you will choose another path. The trouble is nobody asks the question, and when man finally realizes that he has taken a path without a heart, when he's taken a path without a heart, the path is ready to kill him. At that point, very few men can stop to deliberate and leave the path. A path without a heart is never enjoyable. You have to work hard even to take it. On the other hand, a path with heart is easy. It does not make you work at liking it. Now, that quote is something that's stuck with me, and I've kind of incorporated that into my own life and my own pursuit of my own goals, and just following my own heart. And of course, I know that also, like, especially in today's economy, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. You can't always just follow your heart. Sometimes you got to have a job to pay the rent, and you got to, but I mean, as far as like where the next step is, where you want to go, and I don't think the all paths leads to nowhere saying, oh, it's pointless, but it's like, at the end, the journey is what it's all about, not the destination. Because if you just make your goal the destination, and you're just like looking ahead, where am I going, and then once you get there to where you want to be, once you become the famous actor or whatever it is you want to be, then it's like, okay, where do I go from here? I already reached my success. But if you view it as a journey and you take it one day at a time, and you're always excited for what comes next, then that's where the wonder of life keeps going, and that's where you keep learning, and that's where you keep growing, and that's where your self-actualization is a lifelong process. I think that's why actually a lot of you see a lot of celebrities and stuff that have drug issues and everything, because they achieved their dreams, but it's like they never really looked for the meaning. The meaning is I think that's what self-actualization is. It's not only like being your most successful self. I think it's also about living a life that's meaningful, and I think meaning is even more important than success, because or in a more consistent than happiness and success can be fleeting and coming and going, but I think meaning, a life with meaning, is something that can always be consistent, and that's I think that's really what that quote incorporates, and that's kind of what the whole concept of the Ubermensch was incorporating. And then another one I wanted to mention, I know I've been going on a little bit here, but I wanted to mention James Allen, who wrote As a Man Thinketh. He emphasized the power of thoughts. James Allen was a British philosophical writer known for his inspirational essays and books, and he offers teachings that complement Nietzsche's ideas on self-actualization and personal growth. And Allen's teachings are about self-mastery and becoming who you are, and using your thoughts to shape the reality above you. He was shape the reality around you, and this was before all that law of attraction mumbo jumbo, but he talked about thought and character. He emphasized the power of thoughts in shaping one's character and destiny. He suggests that individuals have the ability to control their thoughts and consequently their actions and outcomes. And one of his quotes is like, circumstances don't make the man, they reveal him to himself. And I feel like somebody could probably take that as, oh, like if you're dealt a bad hand, that's your fault. And I don't think that's necessarily what it's saying. I think it's saying that, like, whatever adversity you face and whatever challenge you face reveals your strength and your resilience and your character. That's where that comes in. So I think that's more what he was saying. His most famous work, As a Man Thinketh, highlights the idea that individuals are the architects of their lives through their own power of their thoughts. He advocated for self-discipline and personal responsibility as essential qualities for achieving success and happiness. He encouraged the cultivation of virtuous qualities such as integrity, perseverance, and kindness. So, kindness, that's an important thing as well. He also emphasized the importance of living in alignment with one's values and principles. So basically, his teachings focus on the profound impact of thought on personal character and destiny. His philosophy provides a clear, practical guide to achieving self-actualization and personal fulfillment. And the power of thought emphasizes that thoughts shape our reality. Positive, constructive thinking leads to positive outcomes, while negative thinking can lead to undesirable results. I think that's true within reason. I don't think that, some kind of kid that, a kid that gets leukemia, that they brought that on with their thoughts or something like that. I think that's bullshit. But he also has, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, is one of his key quotes. It suggests that our inner thoughts directly influence our external lives, and our thoughts determine our character, and our character influences our destiny. And by cultivating virtuous thoughts, you notice he has virtuous thoughts. So we build a strong character, which leads to a successful and fulfilling life. He wasn't all about just the me, my goals, shit on everybody else. He also emphasized being ethical with not just being led by your circumstances, but also being virtuous in your pursuit of your ideal life and not stepping on others, and having good. The positive thoughts don't just include positive thoughts for yourselves, but positive, clean thoughts for the world around you as well. And I think that's something that people forget today's day and age when they talk about this kind of stuff. But he also said men are anxious to improve their circumstances, but unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. And I guess that also relates to self-actualization, working on your own character, not only trying to improve your situation and get your goals where you want them to be, but also improving who you are, your character and how you relate to the world around you and everything too. So I guess a way to apply James Allen to your daily life would be to, if you catch yourself saying, I can't do this, replace it with, I am capable and I can overcome this challenging. I am capable. You replace it with, if you catch yourself thinking, I can't do this, consciously replace it with, I am capable and can overcome this challenge. And also with setting goals, define clear, achievable goals and create a plan to reach them. Visualize your success and take consistent, purposeful steps towards achieving your aspirations. Write down your long-term goals, break them into smaller, manageable tasks. I mean, this is all kind of just basic stuff. I'm just saying, ways you could apply this to your own path of self-actualization. And regularly engage in self-reflection to assess your thoughts, actions, and progress. This helps you to stay aligned with your values and goals. For example, keeping a journal where you reflect on your daily experiences, thoughts, and feelings. This is me telling myself to do this stuff too. This isn't necessarily all stuff I'm even incorporating right now, but this is just stuff that is helpful. And committing to acts of kindness and integrity daily, whether through small gestures or significant actions. And take ownership of your thoughts and actions. Recognize that you have the power to change your circumstances by changing your mindset and behavior. And when faced with a setback, instead of blaming external factors, look inward and identify what you can do differently to achieve better results. And again, I think that's within reason. Obviously, if you're in some kind of terrible circumstances where people are being killed around you and everything, that's not that's not your fault. I don't think that's your fault, but I think within reason, this can be applied. But then sometimes other people's wills and other people's, or even something else comes in the way and can disrupt that. But it's also it's how you cope, how you deal with it, how you go forward from that too. I also find for myself that keeping a schedule helps. Scheduling in things helps me be more productive, because I have a lot of different passions, and keeping it organized. Also, going to the gym more consistently now. George Carlin has that quote that we need more people working on their minds and instead of their lifting the weights. Instead, we're just gonna have strong, dumb motherfuckers. But I think that both are kind of important. So I think we should have strong, smart motherfuckers, because I think that when you work on your body and you work out, and now that I've been losing weight and I've been gaining more muscle and I've been, it's a process. It takes time. I think that I've also been more. My head has been getting more together the more that I work out and exercise and everything. It's like you train your body, you train your mind. Part of self-actualization is just being real, because I think a lot of times we get caught up in the fear of what other people think of us and try to be what we think other people want. And ironically, when you're yourself and you're authentic, that's when you start to draw people, because people appreciate that authenticity, that vulnerability, that realism. And then, of course, you'll be polarizing when you put your real self out there. Some people won't like your style, others won't. But that's the only way you'll form lasting connections. That's the only way, like doing a podcast or something like this, you draw a real following, is you put your real self out there. And some people will be drawn to it. Others will be like, hey, that's not my thing. But if you're trying hard, like, then that's not going to draw anyone. I'm just thinking about to like high school. I think there were times I was a real try hard twerp. Like I thought because I listened to metal music or whatever, I had to try to be this like tough guy at times, and I had to be like, ooh, like I think there was one time because I was listening to like this like I still listen to metal and like punk and stuff, but I think in high school as I was discovering more of that stuff, I listened to a lot of dumb crap too that I wouldn't listen to now, like kind of like this kind of like oh yeah, Fred Durst, like, hardcore, like not good hardcore, but like stupid hardcore bands, like emo core bullshit or whatever the hell it was, or like deathcore, like tough guy, like just stupid stuff, not like real like old school hardcore or anything, but like this dumb stuff. And then I'd be like, oh yeah, I gotta be a tough guy like this, and then I'd pull out a juice box at the lunch, and then I'd be like, oh, like that didn't, the fakeness was right fucking there when I got out the juice box, and it's like, oh, I'm trying to be tough, hardcore chatter, man, I'm a tough guy from a suburban neighborhood, like, nah, like, who the fuck was I fooling? But I think there were times I was really authentic in high school too, because I was just kind of out there. But then there were some times I tried too hard to be different, and like that's what another thing is, like, authentic doesn't mean you go against the grain just to go against the grain. Because I know I was talking about the Ubermensch, where it's like you challenge societal norms, but it's like if you could also agree with, like, your principles could align with the status quo too, like, and then at other times there's parts of the status quo that don't align with your principles. But I don't think you just be controversial to be controversial. I don't think you just go against the grain to go against the grain. I think it's authenticity is an important part of that too. So I guess I want to conclude this as just stay true to yourself. Don't be afraid to be real. And being real, sometimes you'll make mistakes. Sometimes you'll hurt people by mistake. Sometimes you'll offend people by mistake. But then you have an open and honest conversation about it. Let your pride go, let your ego go. Be willing to hear the other person out, and then you can grow from that. And also, just keep enjoying the journey. It's not always about the finish line. It's about the road to the finish line. And every day you can be a better version of yourself. There's no point in dwelling on past mistakes. There's no point comparing ourselves to others, because we're all unique. And we're all on this planet for our own unique reasons. Neville Goddard said, view your desires as the spoken words of God, every word a promise. Like, you have these dreams and you have these desires and you have these things in your heart for a reason. And I think that's the higher power, the universe, God, whatever you ever want to call it. It's guiding you towards, that is guiding you towards your destiny. That is guiding you towards your higher purpose. I know there's a lot of this stuff in like the meditation circles, the Buddhism. Oh, don't have any desire, just sit around and meditate. Like, and that's good. Like, it's good to not be attached to things. It's good to be present. It's good to be zen. But it's like, if we just sat around and just were zen all the time and never fucking did anything. Like, look at how crazy the world is right now. There's a lot of shit we gotta change. There's a lot of shit we gotta improve. And we need people out there, like, following their purposes and, like, no, I want to do this. Like, I believe in this. I believe in that. Like, these desires can guide us towards a better world if, as long as these desires are ethical and are for the greater good of all, not just yourself, for the greater good of yourself, but also for the greater good of all. Like, are you contributing? Are you giving something valuable to the world? Because at the end of the day, whatever material success you achieve, you'll enjoy it in this life, but what you leave behind is your legacy. What you leave behind and what people remember is the impact you have on others, and what will live on after your death is whatever legacy you left behind, like whatever change you made to the world is going to be your everlasting legacy, not how much material wealth you achieved. Not that there's anything wrong with having material desires too, but I'm just saying in the long term, like and that's more what to me is what self-actualization is reaching the highest version of yourself, following your purpose, and being the best version of yourself. So anyway, I know I kind of went all over the place with this, but I know this is, as many of you have been listening, this is kind of an ADD podcast. I kind of sometimes go all over the place and it's off the cuff. And I cover a wide range of topics on the show, but always the big stuff, always the deep stuff, and from a wide range. And I hope you catch me for the next episode, and follow me on iTunes. I'm now on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And that's about it for this episode. We'll catch you on the next one.